Narungga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I rise today to speak in support of the Emergency Services Levy report prepared by the Economic and Finance Committee, which I had the great pleasure of being a part of the formulation of that report. It was a good opportunity to question the representatives from the associated agencies and stakeholders, and it was an absolute pleasure, Mr Speaker, an absolute pleasure to be involved. Despite repeated efforts from the opposition, there was absolutely no doubt to those present in the room that the relief felt by ESL bill payers will be $90 million in total statewide over the 4 years. That much is abundantly clear when reading the Hansard, and it's a shame the member for Leigh couldn't bring himself to acknowledge that fact in his presentation. It's absolutely breathtaking to hear the member for Leigh and the member for Ramsay lecture us about not lowering bills enough, Mr Speaker, after they rammed up the bill sneakily after the election with no forewarning at all to the people of South Australia after the last election. It's not surprising, but it's just another example of a party addicted to high taxes, another example of a party addicted to high taxing, and it's breathtaking and galling to hear them criticise us for the relief we've provided to South Australian households. $90 million statewide that South Australians will not have to pay. It will remain in their pocket to spend as they wish, on what they wish, when they wish. It can only be a good thing, Mr Speaker, and I'm proud to have been a part of the party that provided that relief to South Australians. It's just another example of us delivering on a promise, a commitment that we made to the South Australian people prior to the election, a promise to deliver $90 million of relief to those people, and just another example, which is happening with startling frequency, Mr Speaker, which is a welcome change for those people who have been struggling to make ends meet after 16 years of hard labour. This is be well appreciated within the regions, where I saw bills that had risen dramatically without warning after the last election, and people were absolutely mystified as to why they were facing bills $1,100 more expensive than what they had faced previously. Leader
of the Opposition is called to order.
These are the people that contribute most to our emergency services, Mr Speaker, by volunteering and contributing their own time and money, their own equipment to their local brigades, and they were the ones that were hit with these huge bill rises that they now have been provided relief from in the form of our ESL bill reduction. But importantly, Mr Speaker, despite this reduction in the bills, there will be no reduction in local services and no reduction in frontline services, which will occur because of the result of these reductions. It's a true win-win for the general population, more money in their pocket and more great emergency services. Keeping communities safe is the primary responsibility of any government, and I rise today in support of the vital collaborative efforts that is needed from so many across the state to ensure that this responsibility is met. It's predominantly provided by volunteer community members, and in my electorate of Narungga, brigades of volunteers from across all communities and districts assist with the provision of emergency services to fight fires, rescue people on land and sea, attend vehicle accidents, on-call day and night as ambulance drivers and paramedics, suiting up to protect against chemical spills, on roofs in storms, tarpaulin houses and business, or out in the rain and wind, chainsawing trees and removing from roads to ensure safe passage. And these services could not be provided without the willingness of volunteers to provide them, and we thank them for their contribution to our communities. We all remember the catastrophic Pinery fire in November 2015, which was alluded to by the member for Ramsay previously, which was near Mallala and Balaclava and stretched everyone to the limit. Caused the unfortunate death of 2 people, burned out 85,000 hectares, and from which the area is still recovering. Indeed, I only had Minister Spears, the Minister for Environment and Water, out there 2 weeks ago to meet with local farmers in that area to see the environmental impact on roadside trees which were impacted by the fire, and whilst they appear to have regrown, they still often offer hidden dangers as they are weakened within and are still posing a hazard to road users. So it is all these behind-the-scenes issues that are seldom highlighted but which must all be addressed in order to keep our communities safe. Another serious bushfire in the Narungga electorate occurred only a few weeks ago, in April, in Stansbury, which also saw everyone swinging into action again. Farmer water units, dozens of volunteer CFS from local brigades managed to get ahead of the blaze only 3 kilometres north of the town and running uncontrolled toward the St Vincent Highway. There is no way such bushfires could be controlled quickly without the locals putting their lives at risk and pitching in, and again we say thank you to them. It is the least governments can do then to provide all the support they need to continue to provide us with our safety. I report that there is a currently alarming and specific challenge being faced by volunteers across the electorate with filling ambulance rosters. There are simply not enough people willing to donate their time to be on call all night to fill these positions, and those who are doing their bit are stretched, meaning some are reluctantly leaving the rosters because the service is proving too much for them. They want to help, but they need to have their own life too, and it can be quite a toll the hours they are required to put into this service. These dangerous shortages are across the state and leaving our rosters unfilled, meaning blowing out response times for people in dire need of emergency health care. In country areas that are already challenged by distances between services and the time it takes to get to A from B. I'm currently assisting Point Turton Sea Rescue with their pursuit for a new sea rescue boat, and I look forward to making applications for ESL-related funding for that. They have faced a ridiculous situation of having a sea rescue vessel that's not permitted to go more than 2 nautical miles offshore to perform a rescue, and I'm sure everyone in this place would be well aware that not many or more boats become stranded further out than 2 nautical miles, and it just about renders their asset useless. So they're in the hunt for a new boat, and I'm looking forward to assisting them in trying to secure that funding. It significantly hamstrings the assistance that they can provide to stranded fishermen and is placing unnecessary stress on neighbouring crews. I've met with the Wallaroo, SES and Sea Rescue volunteers who also need a new facility. This area is experiencing significant population growth in the area of 26% since 2011 and have tens of thousands of tourists to cater to every holiday period. And whilst this growth is welcome, it places stress on existing emergency and health services, and it is the responsibility of this government to alleviate such stress. SES and CFS respond to many diverse incidents, be they fire or flood, natural calamities or man-made pipe bursts, traffic incidents, roadblocks, sandbagging, chemical hazards, and they commit hours and hours of training and hours of attending incidents to assist their fellow community members, and their efforts are recognised. We have the interesting situation in the Copper Coast where I reside, Mr Speaker, where there are both MFS and CFS, and it can be quite interesting, the demarcation of responsibility when it comes to attending incidents, but we do appreciate that there are many people ready to offer their assistance when there is a fire within the town of Kadina. I'm in touch with the CFS and the MFS, and when the time comes that there is a new MFS station built, I'll be making representations that investigations should be looked into in terms of consolidating the 3 MFS stations, Wallaroo, Moonta and Kadina, into one big station, provided that doesn't negatively impact response times for the people of one of the towns where those stations will miss out. But with the wonderful CFS team we have in Kadina, it would make a lot of sense to consolidate those 3 MFS stations into one big station elsewhere. With that, Mr Speaker, I'll just thank the time of the House and applaud the Marshall Liberal government on delivering a $90 million saving to the people of South Australia, and look forward to working toward more cost-saving measures into the future.
Are there any other speakers? The member for Morford.
Thank you. So this report into the Emergency Service Levy for the 2018-19 year is the first report provided by the Economic and Finance Committee to this session of Parliament. And as the presiding member stated, one of the functions of the Economic and Finance Committee under the Parliamentary Committees Act is to perform such functions as are imposed on the committee under this or any other act